What's the real life way someone destroyed their own happiness? Story 1. There's this young guy at work, probably in his mid-20s, married with 2 little kids and a third on the way. A new girl started working with us and she was openly pursuing him. He was clearly tempted and torn about it. Everyone tried to talk some sense into him. Was it really worth risking his family for a fling? Did he really think this new girl would stay once everything blew up? Eventually, he told us he had set things straight, told her to back off because he loved his wife and wasn't interested. We all thought that was the end of it, but 3 weeks later, he was sleeping in his car. He ended up giving in after all, got caught, kicked out, and handed divorce papers. The new girl bailed the moment he started spiraling from everything that happened. Story 2. Over 10 years ago, when we were teenagers, my old friend Tom once told me at a bar that he was going to try ice for the first time. I didn't really know much about drugs back then, just that ice was bad news. He invited me to join him, but I said no because something deep down told me it would end badly. From that night on, everything changed for him. He went in and out of prison, lost all his friends, including me, and became a completely different person. A few months ago, I saw him while out walking with my wife and daughter. He looked clean and was walking his dog, but when our eyes met, it felt like 2 strangers passing by. That moment stuck with me. It made me realize how easily life could have gone in a different direction if I'd said yes that night. Always say no to ice. It destroys lives and takes away everything that matters. Story 3. I know this guy in his 50s or 60s who got tired of his wife and kids, cheated on her, and ended up divorcing her. His wife, who had always stood by him even though he could never keep a steady job, went on to start her own business and became a multimillionaire. She later remarried an incredible man, someone far better for her in every way. Meanwhile, he married a mail-order bride from Indonesia. But as soon as the 3 years were up, the minimum she needed to stay for permanent residency, she left him and married his wealthier cousin. Every now and then, I see him at family gatherings, sitting alone. He's broke, bitter, and completely alienated. None of his kids or relatives even want to talk to him. Story 4. My sister was offered an amazing, high-paying job doing something she's genuinely talented at. Instead of taking it, she turned it down because she thought it would be too easy. She chose a much tougher job instead, worse environment, awful boss and all, hoping to prove herself somehow. Now she's completely miserable, and I can't understand why she keeps putting herself through this. I kinda get it though, and it's not a good mindset. Back in high school, I used to do the same thing. I'd gravitate toward people who didn't like or respect me and try to win them over. I told myself it would make me stronger, that their doubt would push me to improve, but really it just made me unhappy and insecure. Thankfully, I left that mindset behind when I got to college. Man, that really hits home. Some people have this deep need to earn approval or success the hardest way possible, like if it comes too easy, it doesn't count. It's honestly kinda tragic, because they end up chasing validation instead of happiness. Your sister sounds like she's stuck in that loop of trying to prove herself to people who probably don't even care. It's great that you recognize that pattern in yourself early. Most people never do. Hopefully she figures it out soon before the burnout fully sets in. Story 5. A good friend of mine from work was married to an incredible guy. Everyone liked him. He was kind, dependable, and a great dad to their 2 middle school-aged kids. Then, out of nowhere, she hit what seemed like a midlife crisis. She reconnected with her high school boyfriend on Facebook, started an affair, and eventually told her husband everything before leaving him for the other guy. Her husband handled it with incredible grace. He wanted her to be happy, stayed cooperative for the kids' sake, and never made things harder than they had to be. But the guy she left him for turned out to be a total mess. I met him a few times. He was arrogant, rude, and clearly toxic. They fought constantly, broke up every other week, and he'd disappear for days, leaving her frantic. Most of the time, he was off partying or on a binge somewhere with friends, at nearly 50 years old. She said she left her husband because she was bored and not attracted to him anymore, but it felt more like she was chasing some lost sense of excitement or the rush of young love. Instead, she just found chaos. I honestly think some people can't stand peace. They need drama. even if it cost them everything good in their life. Story 6. Back in 2010, my mom's cousin had a beautiful destination wedding in Mexico. The whole family went, and it was an amazing experience for everyone. But less than a year later, everything fell apart. She was caught cheating on her husband with one of her massage clients at work, and she was pregnant with their son at the time. It honestly felt like something straight out of a TV drama. They ended up getting divorced, and her ex completely cut ties, not just with her, but with the child too. I can't help but feel bad for the kid. Growing up without a father figure really takes a toll. I know because I went through the same thing, and it leaves scars that don't fade easily. Story 7. Knew a guy that worked for a small publicly traded company, a penny stock. It became a meme stock around the GameStop era. His holdings went from about $50,000 to $7 million in a few weeks. He knew the valuations were complete bullcrap, but refused to sell. He said $10 million was his FU money number, and only when it hit that would he sell. I begged him to sell because it was obvious it was a short-term phenomenon, and he had made a lot of bad bets in his life. The company lost about 99% of its value from its high. He did get out about $500,000. Taxes got about 30% of it, but watch almost all of it evaporate. He's absolutely miserable at his new job. He could have retired at a young age. I still can't believe he did it, like throwing away a lottery ticket. Story 8. This one is rather simple compared to some of the others, but I have a friend, I guess. He's always complaining about not being able to make connections with new people and that his two friends keep him at arm's length, that I'm the only person that regularly talks to him. I told him it's because he's passively mean to everyone and doesn't extend any effort into friendships. He comes back with, their emotions are their responsibility, not mine. He can't make friends because he's a bully, and he can't keep friends because he's too passive and expects them to put in all the work. Plus, he's a bully and says really mean crap off the cuff under brutal honesty. He absolutely will not accept this. I told him it's the reason I won't invite him further into my life and circles either, and that one struck a nerve with him, so hopefully he will start to look inward. To be fair, I do think he's a sociopath, so my efforts will likely be in vain. However, he's constantly miserable and feeling apathetic toward life and wants more friends. He's his own worst enemy. I'm giving it another month and then bailing if he's stuck that hard in his ways. Story 9. I met a guy who went to an Ivy League law school, putting himself hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. He passed the bar exam with an almost perfect score, but was rejected from the bar due to his drug history. He had been involuntarily committed to a psychiatric hospital after getting really high and becoming psychotic. No state is likely to ever accept him as a lawyer now. He's basically stuck making $40,000 a year as a legal assistant for the rest of his life, all because he did a bunch of meds in college. Story 10. My best friend was having an affair, and I was the only person, apart from the two of them, that knew what was going on. My friend knew that I was friends with his wife before they met, and we were close, but he just unloaded everything on me and said, "Don't tell Kelly, but the other one is pregnant." I said, "Bro, you've got 3 kids and a wife, what are you doing?" He said it was fun. I'm a bit ashamed to say that I abandoned him, and last I saw him, he was in a group of street drinkers, and he chased me up the street trying to talk to me. I'm still close with Kelly. She moved on and is with a great lad now. Damn, that's rough. Honestly, I don't blame you for walking away. When someone blows up their whole life like that and still calls it fun, there's not much you can do, except step back. You tried to talk sense into him, but at some point, people have to face the consequences of their own choices. It sounds like Kelly came out of it stronger and found someone who treats her right, which is at least one good thing that came from all that mess. It's sad about your old friend though. Seeing someone spiral like that is always hard, even when they brought it on themselves. Story 11. He was miserable at a data entry company in Texas. I encouraged him to apply for his dream job for a company that was out of state. I told him if he gets the gig, he can figure out the move over there and he'll be making enough to move his girlfriend and her 2 kids. I said that of course it'll be a difficult move, but he has to follow his dreams and passions. Well, they made him an offer above what he asked for. I remember the day he got the news. He called me crying, and I cried too, because I was so happy for him. He deserved it, and he is a good person. His girlfriend was absolutely not okay with it, and she said he only supported him when he applied because she didn't expect him to get an offer. She threatened to break up with him and even accused him of abandoning his children and forcing the children to be raised without a father, even though they weren't his children. They had only been dating a year, and her kids were 8 and 12 at the time. He finally gave in and turned down the offer. I was so disappointed and I was upset with her. She called sometime later and yelled at me for getting his hopes up, even though I supposedly knew they would be a problem with her. She also accused me of trying to get him to break up with her. After that, he and I hung out less and less till finally communication stopped altogether. About a year later, he sent me a message saying that he hated me for putting him in that dilemma. That honestly hurt the most. That was about 20 years ago. He's still at the same data entry company, and he got his first promotion. He's now a senior software engineer after being stuck with the junior title for 20 goddamn years. Anyway, the company he wanted to work for was Boston Dynamics. Story 12, my oldest cousin used to get regularly verbally abused by my extremely strict religious aunt growing up, and used to complain to me and my sister about the treatment he got. My paternal grandmother and my parents tried to intervene numerous times, but to no avail, as my uncle, my dad's younger brother, used to support the treatment that my aunt gave to my two cousins. Sadly, nothing really got done in the end. Fast forward to now. At 21 years old, my oldest cousin has now become a fundamentalist Christian who posts constantly on Instagram about it. What's really sad is he doesn't trust anybody who doesn't go along with his beliefs, even family members, and he's extremely dismissive and hateful of anybody who lives a different life to him. Sadly, this includes my grandmother, and it is breaking her heart that one of her grandkids refuses to speak to her just because she doesn't share his beliefs. Story 13, my dad. My mom kicked him out about 15 years ago. When my grandmother passed, he used the partial inheritance to buy a very small house with his girlfriend one state over to take care of my grandfather. For a while he was great. GF was keeping him in shape, he was taking care of my grandfather. He was reuniting with old friends in the area. When my grandfather passed, it all fell apart. He got the rest of his inheritance, and not sure how much, but my grandparents were adults during World War II and did very well for themselves. Broke up with his girlfriend for some reason, gained back all the weight he lost the house in the process, blew all the inheritance money on motorcycles and a sports car, lent money to people that never paid him back. Now he rents a room from my mom and works in a kitchen somewhere. He also doesn't have the fancy vehicles he bought anymore. Story 14, my great uncle was terrified of death, and as he aged, he fell into a deep depression about the fact that he would eventually die. And this depression brought on health issues which ultimately lead to him having a heart attack and dying in his sleep. It was such a weird thing since he died very peacefully, and without him even knowing which is what he would have wanted. But his death was caused by his fear of death, so it was literally a self-fulfilling prophecy. Man destroyed his happiness due to a fear that he literally caused to come true. The creepy thing about this story is it's kind of made me concerned about how I'll deal with my own mortality when I get older. Story 15, my mom. She was tall and beautiful, smart as a tack, and a lovely sense of humor. She was proposed to 6 times, she was in hot demand. She got her degree in veterinary medicine and worked as a vet for 2 years. Then she met my dad, a cheating alcoholic jerk cop who completely sucked the life out of her. He cheated on her for the first 10 years of their marriage with a woman by the same name. He controls everything she does. I mean everything. She can't even spend 5 minutes in the bathroom without him screaming at her for being useless. She had such a bright future ahead of her, and she gave it all up to allow us kids to have 2 parents. Granted, it would have been a much healthier household if they had separated, but her heart is in the right place. She went back to school recently and got her master's in bioinformatics, but she's been out of work for over 20 years and has been struggling to get a job. She's truly the strongest woman I've ever met, and I hate my dad for taking her life away from her. Story 16, my sister-in-law was an accountant that basically ran the business for a successful businesswoman who inherited everything from her dad. Had what could best be described as a midlife crisis and ended up quitting her highly paid salary job, starting a business that she knew nothing about, and buying a big house. The problem is she drained the savings of not only me and my wife, but all her other siblings as well. The business she started was liquidated, the house was sold, at a loss to all of us, and she is now back working with the aforementioned businesswoman. Oof, that's brutal. It's one thing to take a personal risk with your own money, but dragging the whole family's savings into it is another level of bad judgment. Sounds like a classic midlife crisis mixed with overconfidence. Quitting a secure, well-paying job to chase something totally unfamiliar rarely ends well. At least she landed back on her feet with her old employer. But man, that kind of financial and emotional damage in a family is hard to come back from. I hope you and your wife were able to recover somewhat, because that must have been a nightmare. Story 17, I saw people that ended up on the streets as homeless. But here comes the important thing. In the country where I live, you get full coverage by social welfare. The state pays your rent for a home, pays your monthly insurance bills for healthcare access, etc., and also offers you free detox, rehab, and therapy for meds addiction, also therapy for mental health issues and other problems. Still, these guys that hang out in certain places of the public med scene, they refuse any help. They have given up on themselves. Even when street workers come and offer them assistance like doing the paperwork for getting social welfare, getting a new home, etc., and even when they want to give them some warm clothes in the winter, they refuse. Some of them even refuse to get the basic things, like the free dog food we hand out here and the free vet care we offer them. There's no way to get through to them. That's self-destruction that you can't imagine if you have never seen it for yourself. Like when I was on meds, I met this one guy. He had abscesses on multiple body parts, and he looked like someone had just beaten the crap out of him. I told him to see a doc ASAP because the abscesses will lead to a sepsis, killing him. His answer was, "I'm fine, don't tell me what to do." Story 18, too many to name. However, one surefire way of destroying your happiness and that of loved ones around you is not staying true to yourself. The basic desires of every human being are love, appreciation, and a sense of belonging. Alas, in order to fit in the subsection of the society in which we operate, we forego our original and unique identities and instead mold ourselves into what society wants us to become, or at least our skewed perception of what society wants us to be. This may work out for a while, but in the long run, it only hurts you and others around you. You may fool others, but you cannot fool yourself. It erodes you internally, and eventually, it comes out in the form of anger, resentment, embitterment, and contempt towards your life. Be true to who you are. Story 19, probably myself. Instead of continuing my career as a chef, I went a different direction and got a job in purchasing for a restaurant equipment distributor. It was great for 10 years, at which point they asked me if I wanted to try selling, and I said sure because it was a good pay increase. Sales are miserable. People suck, but when you're in sales, people really suck. You are treated like a whipping boy at everyone's beck and call. I'm out of sales now, but my new position is crazy stressful. I'm so stressed I started unconsciously pulling out hair from my eyebrows, and now I have weird eyebrows. I'm working so hard, I feel too drained to start job searching after work. I miss being creative. I miss the camaraderie, the sounds, the smells, though some I definitely don't miss. The people. I have enough experience now that I can be a restaurant consultant, but I have no idea how to get started, so I just keep on chugging through my current stressful as hell job. Follow your dreams, people. Don't trade passion for security. Story 20. My cousin was an addict since she was like 13 and odd just after she had been clean. Very sad. She was a good person, just had a crap life because she chose meds, because she mingled in those groups to escape from her strict mom. Also a lesson for strict parents. You don't keep your children from meds and alcohol by being strict. You send them right into it. It is better to inform them. My parents were very easygoing and informative, and none of us ever got into meds. 2 of the 3 siblings of my cousin used hard meds. My mother was always having high expectations of people without expressing what she wanted of them, so she was always disappointed because it wouldn't happen. She spent her whole life being sour and jealous of people who got what she wanted. Story 21. I worked with a woman in a convenience store who was a super positive, dedicated hard worker. She loved the job and the customers. She probably would have been the store manager within a few years. But then she did some sketchy crap with scratch-off lottery tickets and got fired. She kept coming back to the store for several weeks, threatening employees and the manager. She finally stopped coming in. Last I heard, she got really into ice after losing her job. I should note that it's possible she was already into ice before getting fired, but after, it became scary, scabby, teeth falling out into ice. Story 22, I work in psych. People are constantly ruining their lives with meds and alcohol. We offer them help, they say, okay, and then they leave. They don't pick up their meds, they don't get rehab. They go straight to their substance of choice. This is part of the reason why I care for people, not about them. Seeing people continually ruin their lives and allowing yourself to care is a sure way to have a very sad life. When they are with me, I do my damnedest to make sure they get the best care they can. Once they leave, it's on them, not my problem anymore. Sometimes I think, I'll see you in a month with fewer teeth. But, again, not my problem. My problem is ensuring we have enough food on the table, that our health is good, and that the kittens feel loved along with my wife. As for the patients, it's not my problem anymore. Story 23, a buddy of mine worked in national security, had a clearance top secret, did something with satellite imaging analysis. He also smoked pot. This is, for those who don't know, not allowed if you hold a security clearance, and he lied about it in his initial review. The dude then proceeds to grow a conscience, and admitted during a subsequent review that he smoked. Folks, don't smoke pot when you have a security clearance. I cannot stress that enough. But if you do not tell the interviewer that you've been lying to them. That is not something they want to hear, and it will mess your life right up. He lost his clearance, got put on leave at work. I started drinking, I think out of some combination of self-pity, boredom, and addictive personality. Ended up getting blackout drunk on the daily, and one night he did something threatening toward his wife and infant son. I don't know what, he doesn't know what, but his wife was very shaken up. Nothing actually happened physically, but it was apparently the final straw. His wife had been dealing with this crap for months at this point. His wife filed for divorce the next day. I don't blame her one tiny bit. He lost a 10-year marriage with a woman he loved and still loves, 2 kids, his job, and his home. Story 24, saw a guy wreck his entire life with cheating, was married to a fantastic woman, gorgeous, made great money, didn't even have to work unless he wanted to, loyal, and still found the energy to take care of the entire house. Man had to do nothing, but for some reason in his mind figured, man, this is perfect, I better go cheat. Threw it all away over attempting to sleep with one of her friends, who then promptly showed his wife. Later confessed he's been trying to cheat because he was so bored. I will never understand those kinds of people. Story 25, one of my exes cheated on me. This was about 12 years ago, and moved to another city to be with the guy. He was here on holidays. Saw her a couple of years ago when she was back visiting her mom back in the city. She acted happy to see me and came over to talk, was acting all nice and flirty, then admitted she was miserable. The other guy was a douche who dumped her when she lost her figure and slept with her younger sister so she was alone. She then floated the idea of getting back together, which I promptly shot down by introducing her to my wife. Good Lord, the range of faces she managed to pull in about 5 seconds before walking away was amazing. Story 26, my sister-in-law was with one of my good friends. They owned a beautiful house, 2 beautiful girls, and loved each other more than life itself. My friend is the type of guy you couldn't dislike. Hard-working, honest, a great dad. Her, on the other hand, would like to stay home all day and watch the replays of reality TV shows. She is a good mom though. About 4 years ago, she decided that she needed to be an independent, strong woman and left him. Stayed in his parents' investment property for half the market rent for 2 months while they sorted out their affairs. She got her own place, found a new BF 2 weeks later, moved in with him 4 weeks later, and was pregnant 9 weeks later. The new bloke is toxic, has gambling problem, berates her in front of her friends and family any chance he gets, and is extremely jealous. Long story short, I have never seen someone blow up their life as quickly as that. She had it all, and now nothing. Story 27, my oldest best friend retired a couple years ago at 55. Now all they do is drink alcohol all day long and rarely eat anything much. Has been hospitalized a couple times because health is deteriorating from the drinking. They were supposed to retire young so they could enjoy their time with the grandkids and grow old with the spouse, but I'm afraid they won't make it another year. It's sad. I tell them how worried I am, but I feel like I'm watching them destroy their happiness right in front of me. Everything's fine, they tell me. I don't know what to do. Story 28. My brother-in-law decided to take his entire inheritance and 100,000 of my sister's, 500,000 total, to have a go at day trading and try and get it big enough to buy a decent place in Sydney, as opposed to buying something modest with 500,000 back in 2018. Lost the lot in 6 months. Now they are getting booted from their unit as they can afford the extra $200 a week it's been raised. Now they are broke and having to pay for a move once they can actually find a dump 30 minutes further out of the city. You get any chance to get on the property ladder? Take it? Oh, I forgot. Before all this, he used the first 50,000 to buy a sports car, went racing out in the country and lost his license for 2 years. He was a cab driver, so the day trader was an attempted career move. Story 29, a former friend had a lot going for her. She was in school for fashion or costume design with aspirations to work for Disney and was close to graduating. Had an absolutely amazing girlfriend, and had a great group of friends. Then she met John, fake name. John was a jerk who worked his way into her life, and within months of starting to hang out with him and his wife, she suddenly switched her major, pushed away both her girlfriend and our entire friend group in favor of hanging out with him, and then one day, just up and moved down to live with him and his wife. Straight up napalmed her whole life, and then, shocking no one but her, it didn't work out because he couldn't keep a job and she couldn't pay for all 3 of them, so she ended up moving back in with her parents and working at a factory. Story 30. My ex-best friend married a guy she didn't love or even have an attraction to because he was perfect on paper, has a stable income, and does absolutely everything for her and the kids. The biggest thing that made her do it was that she'd always wanted her family's approval and acceptance, and they loved this guy, so she married him. At the wedding, she looked absolutely miserable, and you could tell her heart wasn't in it. She's still married to him, and the light has gone from her eyes, but she'll stay forever, I think, because it's gained her family's approval. We fell out because I was the only one to tell her that she shouldn't do it.